Does anyone think that our generation being obsessed with true crime will create better serial killers? It's like we're all doing research on how to get away with murder. Kind of a similar problem with antibiotics, right? We're going to make a superbug.
Oh, I see. I'm not sure whether true crime is a new fascination. Like, how long has America's Most Wanted been on television?
But don't you think it's safe to say that well, I mean, that's a dumb leading question. Do we or do we not think that more people are kind of forensically savvy than, let's say, 20 years ago?
I think so.
We know what luminol is. We know. So if you were gonna like fly into a rage and like murder somebody or kill them for insurance, like, it's safe to say that you are going to maybe take extra steps.
I think being a serial killer would be a big step. I don't think many people would be serial killers just because they think they could get away with it better. Right. But I think like
they're like, the market's good.
It's my time now. I'm so well educated in this. But I think the average kind of killer who decapitates their spouse and then tries to call in, I think they probably are going to be more sophisticated, but then law enforcement is constantly getting more sophisticated.
Yeah.
And I think the pieces that people are better at understanding now, like luminol or, DNA and things like that. But there's so many different parts to the investigation. Like when we talked about like Chris Watts, the guy who killed his wife and his kids, that's like a really recent case. The number of unbelievably stupid things he does, like Googling things, making calls from his phone to like figure out where he can dispose of his wife's body. I'm like, what were you doing? Like, what were you thinking?
It just also seems like, and I think this is especially true in London, right? Like, there's just cameras everywhere. Right. Like, you can't
CCTV.
not be on camera
Aren't we
anymore.
the most CCTV'd city in the world?
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I don't know if this is true anymore, but at one point, certainly, I read that you're caught on CCTV about 300 times a day in London.
Right. Yeah. Although a lot of places in London, it's cheaper just to put a camera out in front of your place and not plug it in. Like just to look like you have a CCTV.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really common.
So there's loads of blind spots in London, and people know exactly where they are. And if you're going to get into a fight or commit a crime, they know where the cameras aren't plugged in. Yeah,
I remember going to like an anarchist website like, probably 20 years ago now, where it was like you could plug two locations in London into a like a map, and it would show you the route where you could stay off camera.
Yeah.
For them, it was just a matter of principle, I guess.
I was at a casino in Reno, Nevada, and a guy grabbed a friend of mine, this woman, like grabbed her by the crotch, like Trump style, and because he's a horrible human being,
right?
And I grabbed the guy, and security came over, and they go, "If you want to kick his ass, go to the parking lot and go to the right." And stand by this one thing because the cameras don't work there for a reason.
That's where the security goes.
That's where they go and they fuck people up.
Right.
They go like, if you're gonna go deal with this guy, here's where you fucking go. There's cameras, but those ones don't work for a reason. Because that's where shit gets dealt with.
Do you think that true crime fans are more or less predisposed to like be wanting to commit crimes though? Because I might believe like people with a bent for justice might be more prone to do true crimes. So then maybe they're less likely to even do these kinds of crimes. So then the kinds of people who like this stuff aren't the kinds of people who are going to use it to get away from crimes. I don't know. Talking. Hey guys.
I've read a bunch of like true crime stuff and fictional crime stuff, and what the police always say is smart people are the first ones to get caught because they think that they know what they're doing.
Well, like,
and they also think that they can't get caught, and also because they're smart, when presented with evidence and logic, they go, "Oh, you've got me." Stupid people get away with it because stupid people don't see logic and they just don't fucking care.
Well, did you guys? Well, here and here's where the twain meet. Is his name Josh Powell? Is that the Powell guy that I think he was Mormon? By the way, Mormons, we got to talk. Listening to true crime, it's like I will put a pin in that, but. The Powell guy, this is the guy who drove out somewhere, came back without his wife, in Utah, and then like forever they're investigating him, and then he eventually the two kids he killed them like and set his house on fire. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the Cold podcast.
That guy he had seen a true crime case like in Utah or something. There was some comparable case that he was documented as having studied, basically. And the lesson that his not entirely bright mind, but incredibly sociopathic mind had learned was simply don't lie as tell as few lies as possible. If you're going to invent a person, for instance, that like killed your spouse in the alley, don't say you didn't see their face. Don't say you saw it and that they were Latino and they were wearing a fedora. Like the more details you give, the more you're gonna get cornered and caught. The guy was just. It was childish the way he the cops sat him down and goes. They're just like the cops were almost addicted to shame and the part of the perpetrator where they're like, well, this is the part where we corner you and you eventually like just admit that you can't lie anymore. But he had like this weird superpower where he was like, yeah, I guess that does sound crazy. And then just silence. And they're like, and he's like, and nothing. And he found it reminded me a lot of Donald Trump's effect on like the media and things where it was just like, we don't know how to deal with this. We've never had someone just like they're not smart. They're not stupid. They're just, he just like went through, like he just said as little as possible and then just sat there and he got away with it until he killed himself and his kid. Anyways, that we used to say, because that's many people asking that question. How would you get away with murder having studied all this stuff? The answer used to be have a boat. I don't think that's true at all anymore.
No.
They're covered with cameras. Everyone's that's the new way to solve a crime.
Have a boat. It was good before there was cameras everywhere.
Now the answer is just don't actually like as long as you can actually get rid of the body. Don't. Just say nothing, and get used to the feeling of everyone pointing at you and screaming murderer, but that just react to that and then I'll have a sandwich, and then our society doesn't know what to do with that person.
Right. I think in terms of how to get away with murder, if we're going there, someone not connected to you in any way. That's how you do it. And then also, what I would do
Hell yeah.
Is if you inject someone who's not diabetic with insulin, they have a heart attack.
Okay, we should cut this out of the podcast. It's very easy to get insulin. That's crazy.
And it's naturally occurring in the human body, so they don't test for it.
Hell yeah. We're fucking solving problems on Harmontown. That's crazy.
That leads to a question I've always kind of had about true crime or crime in general, which is do we think that there's and I don't know if the term should be serial killer or not, but I guess it should be. Do we? How do I phrase this question? Is there a fringe of incredibly successful serial killers who are so good at what they do that they have body counts in astronomical numbers and will never be caught and have never been caught? Or is it no, we catch them eventually? You know what I mean? I don't know how to phrase the question. It's sort of
most of the time, I think they do realize that it's a serial, hopefully. But I do also think serial murders are the hardest to solve. We talk about this quite a lot on the show because they do exactly what Hanna just said. They kill people that they don't know with no connection, and no connection between the victims, no connection between them and the victim. So it's really hard for them to connect the dots and realize. And I think there are definitely serial killers out there with huge head counts? Well, that's not the body counts. Especially if they've been killing people that society doesn't care about.
Right.
And if they're really good, we don't know who they are.
Prostitutes die all the time, and there's lots of serial
In LA,
murders.
there's like a serial killer that's just been like busting homeless people's heads, and then it just kind of like he killed a bunch of people and then stopped, and people were just like, don't know what happened, and like that person might be still doing it.
Yeah, like if there's no family that's banging down the doors on the police station saying, like, follow up on this.
Right.
I mean,
like,
even when
nobody cares.
Even when there is sometimes, the thing is, if it's like, we've talked about cases where the victims are sex workers, and the narrative will be, oh, well, no one was like looking for them, or no one was telling the police. They had, mothers and fathers and sisters and social workers telling the police to look. But the thing is, serial killer investigations are so expensive, and it's resourcing, and it's about how much was this person worth to society? Right. Not a whole lot. Yeah.
If
and that's
she's
sad.
if she's a blonde rich girl, then there's more like traction on that.
And there's also that element of victim blaming, like Dan was talking about at the start, in terms of, well, what do you expect? You were homeless, or you were a sex worker, or you were doing this, so it was bound to happen eventually. This was inevitable.
Really?
Yeah.
And I think there's definitely an element of that. So I think definitely there are serial killers out there with huge body counts that we haven't tracked down because of who they were killing.
And where they're doing it as well. Like, communication between police departments is really hard.
That's the truck driver thing.
Right.
Like that guy that was or that guy might still be not caught, right? Like, isn't there some American, like, truck driver guy that they think he's a truck driver?
I'm sure there's loads, yeah.
That just, like, they're starting to put the thing together, like the idea that this person has just been murdering, like, what do they call them? Lot lizards. I don't know what the term is for the sex workers that frequent, like, truck stops and things like that, hitchhikers and things, like, and that you just, like, if they just study the jurisdictions and they go, these investigations will never be related to in any single investigator's mind.
I think one thing I'd love to add to that, though, is more and more now, we talked about it on a couple of episodes with the DNA stuff. Now people just giving all of their DNA to these private companies, and then they're put into publicly searchable databases. The police can search through them, and then they caught the Golden State Killer last year.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that at all.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's absolutely impossible to have a conversation where you're anti-catch a horrible predator. Yeah. You can't come down against that, but I never predicted that this would happen. I always predicted that we would have a point as a society where we got to have an increasingly difficult debate.
Right. We've never done any of that for any technology.
I remember when they started putting chips in cats. Yeah, like my cat had a microchip in it, and I was like, where's this going? And it was safe to have that because they were, like, thinking about, well, let's do that on prisoners too, and that way you wouldn't even need as many bars. The chip is the bar, like, just let. But and they always start with house pets and prisoners and then our children, because we love our children. We don't want anything bad to happen to them. And then, like, civil liberties start increasingly, and so all of a sudden one day the Golden State Killer's caught. And then it was almost like a footnote that, by the way he was caught was this incredibly, like, way too late to have a debate about it, Orwellian threshold we've crossed, where, because we all want to know how much Neanderthal we have in us, we swab our cheeks and send it to these services, and then somewhere along the way, everyone just, it's like, oh, holy shit. Yeah. You can just, how do we feel about that?
Conflicted, I think, because you have the success stories of, like, the Golden State Killer, and now they're running the DNA for, like, the Zodiac Killer, and they're like, we're gonna get him and all this, and cool. But then, like, the stories that are missed is there are so many articles about, particularly when we were reading about the Golden State Killer, and we did that case about the 40-year-old case, the bodies in the barrel, the Bear Brook case.
Yeah.
And when we were doing the research for that, I read an article about a guy who was a high school teacher. There had been a couple of rapes in the town that he was living in, and he had his DNA was in the database. They said it was him. They arrested him. They took him in. They held him. Didn't charge him. Turns out it was, like, his nephew or something. And by the time they were able to identify who it really was, his life is over. He can't be a teacher anymore, even if he's proven not to be. Anybody really want him around their kids anymore?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you could. I mean, I think Trump's going to win in 2020 on the slogan "No collusion."
Oh, he's going to win, and
I just thought it was kind of fun. Whatever. I didn't expect that reaction.
I said
I guess we're all a little worn out.
Also, like there was no way that the Mueller report was going to be what anybody wanted. He's
I just love that idea that it was like that's the big triumph. Is it going to be like, remember when you thought I was a Russian agent? I wasn't.
Yeah,
Like it's like I like Ike. It's just sort of it's a little bit more of a negative society. That's all it's saying. When you're I am not a crook wasn't Nixon's slogan.
right. He didn't run.
It was a thing he said while he was being forced out of society.
It was a thing he said
it was a protest
before he resigned.
It was an impotent, like plaintive wail.
You don't have to resign now. You can be a complete asshole and get reelected. He's going to be reelected. Everybody,
Sorry. Anyway,
get ready.
That did remind me of one thing. I would never look at this podcast reviews, but I did look at yours because I was just curious.
Even I don't.
You guys got this fucking pissed me off. Like I like you guys got a bunch of 1-star reviews that were people that your Central Park 5 episode going like, I used to like this podcast, but I didn't know it was going to be about shaming the American president.
Oh yeah.
What? Yeah. He wasn't president when he became famous for taking out he's part of a true crime story.
Right, he's part of the story. Like I think we got one in the UK as well. This guy be like, all these big girls do talk about Trump all the time. This happened 30 years ago. Why is he being brought? He's in the story. Like I can't what do you want me to do? Lie?
It's like if a knife that stabbed someone then became a senator later.
Yeah.
That
it was there. It's part of the story. I mean, it's not like you guys like take a big break and go like, by the way, here's what we hate about America. It was like, I just thought it was so amazing that there was like, there was like clearly like a big cluster of people that were like 1 star. And particularly for people who were like, I used to like you. And then I found out that you don't like it when people try to kill people with.
We're so glad you enjoyed 79 hours of free content before you yelled at us for talking about
for
Trump.
the one thing,
But it's fine.
But I also do that. Like, I will start listening to a show if they say one thing I don't.
I know.
It's almost uplifting that someone from that demo could get through all those episodes because it's just an Anglophile thing. If I hear an English accent, I assume you hate me, and I'm not even. I'm as liberal as the day is long, but I'm just like, well, they would think I was tacky. I mean, listen to them. They sound like James Bond.
No.
I like J.K. Rowling on Twitter is fucking hilarious. And so someone said, like, because she like outed like gay characters.
She just recently confirmed that Dumbledore and Grindelwald had all sorts of crazy, nasty sex.
Yeah. But like,
did you guys hear about this?
Yeah. And someone
I heard they canon did it in a dumpster behind Hogwarts.
Hogwarts has a dumpster.
Yeah. That's what's so weird. It's like she's trying to make all these characters gay, but it's like it's getting really thin, these justifications. I don't think there was a dumpster.
But
she's less into magic and we're into just this PC agenda, clearly.
Hogsmeade, sure, but a dumpster, it's weird.
Somebody tweeted at her like I found out that you're into gay culture and like I have all your movies. I took all the CDs out and I'm gonna burn them on my lawn. And
on the lawn?
Yeah. And J.K. Rowling tweeted back, said, that's great, because the fumes are toxic and I have your money. Fuck you.